Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time, a Wave Sports and Entertainment original presented by Prize Picks. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. It is that time of week where we have a guest join us, coming to us live from sunny Southern California. Check him out on Gil's Arena with Underdog Fantasy. Gilbert Arenas, what's going on, man?
What's up? Thank you for having me.
Yo, so something, I want to just touch on this right fast as I've been watching different clips of your son playing. And I have to say, part of what I find interesting is kind of unfair for the rest of the kids, but it feels like your son is actually playing high school basketball as opposed to high school kids playing some form of professional basketball.
Yeah. He's a great kid, learned, studied. He understands that money is not the goal, when you're trying to get to the next level. And you're trying to be the best. It's about, just the craft itself. So, it's treat each level like it's its level, right? This is high school basketball, and you have to move like a high school kid. When you get to college, move like a college kid. When you get to the pros, move like a pro.
You think he would move that way if his daddy didn't have that big ass house? And I mean that sincerely, because it's an interesting position to be in for like the kids of former pros are playing a different game when it comes to this money that they could easily get other ways.
That's hard to say because, we have it, right?
Yeah.
Right now, a lot of kids are moving like, it's a money grab. And I always told them, when we first started, and this NIL came and I said, that's just another bump in the road for, players, right? But if your goal is to be an NBA player, then you can't look at the side hustles. Don't treat your game like a side hustle, right? You have a goal. Is the NBA. Every time you stop here, pick a NIL bag up or pick a collective bag and start doing this, you ain't moving forward. So every situation we've been in, every decision we made has been talent-based, not money-based.
Yeah, my thought had always been, and it's a whole different game now, so you can't use this, but like, take it 15 years ago, the first time somebody changes schools just to play basketball is like the day they actually turn pro. Like when you pack your ass up and go to the middle of nowhere in Virginia to go play basketball, those are the kids that were always trying to get out of college as soon as possible because it had already become like an actual pro game to them.
Yeah, no, you're trying to put yourself in a situation where you're going to maximize your talent, right? So, teaming up, at a big UCLA school, right? Some of those one and done kids are like, nah, just go somewhere where I'm the man. I'm going to have some TV games and, I got 6 months here and then I'm out.
But for you, with your son, right, wasn't being the man part of why you got him in school where he is, like to deal with a zillion people swarming the ball and all of that?
Yeah, I actually did the research on, super teaming in high school. What were those players at? There was enough research for me to research it. So I looked at the Sierra Canyon kids, Mount Vernon kids, right? And I realized when you're teaming up in that developmental stage, you're not going to be very aggressive. When you get to the pros, you're going to be like a great role player because you're so used to just being docile and deferring to other players that you're creating, I call it 5-star role players. And I started looking back at the Zions, the Jaws, and look at where they came from, and all the real Lions are coming from schools where they're the guys, right? During that developmental age where it's really about your development versus trying to win a bunch of team awards that you average 6 on this championship team. You're not getting recruited. You're going to be at a Division II, you're going to be at a JUCO or a low-level Division I school. So this is the age where you're supposed to be selfish and try to figure out what your game is.
Yeah, my hot take has been the reason that this country don't seem to produce mega stars like it used to. Like all the biggest stars as players now seem to be cats from Europe. And it is, as AAU influence got to everything else, and you got all these dudes on the same squad, how do you learn to be that dude? Like with Zion, it was interesting because he was playing against all them little bitty white boys over there in South Carolina. But then he got to Duke and he was like, oh, I like the taste of blood. He can't stay healthy. He got all his problems, but he liked being a dominant player. And I feel like you can't become that guy unless you get that taste of it early.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. You're not going to be averaging 10 and then go into the league and average 35. Like you're just not built for it if you've never done it. Like, the kids is complaining, the parents pass the ball. Like, that goes through your mental ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th grade. So when you do team up and it's time to take over the game, you already have it instilled in you, right? It's like building a super warrior, right? You're just putting on this selfish pad, this scoring pad, this, you're just putting on all this. And when you team up, you know what to drop to help the team out. But if you've never, ever been selfish, when it's time for you to be selfish, you got a heart.
And your boy putting up shots. I don't watch them clips. He putting up shots.
I be screaming, "Come on, just pass the ball just a little bit." I got to hear these
parents.
Yeah, I got to be hearing the parents in the back. Just one or two times. Right? Just feed it up with just a little bit, right? And but he can pass the ball, but it's really half a star players. He's going to public school, and it's the kids from the area. So most of them won't play basketball after high school. If so, it'll be a junior college type of deal. So he's managing, right? He's starting to understand that you still got to feed those players, keep them in the game so they can do their job.
You think it's different, though, once you go to college? And I hadn't planned to talk about this much, but it got interesting to me. Because, I think about that team that you played for at Arizona, and y'all were loaded. Like, that starting five is as good a starting five as we have seen. And that is the opposite approach as to what we're talking about for high school.
No, but my high school was the same, right? I had to do everything. Power forward on defense, right? Point guard on offense, got to break the press, got to rebound, got to defend. Once I got to college, I knew what I didn't need anymore. Okay, they just need me to run the court, play off the ball. Cool, I can do that. But if I never had done it, I would have clashed with Jason Gardner, right? I'm the point guard, you the point, you know what I mean? But because I had all these other tools, it was easy for me to, adapt to Arizona and become a starter because I already had all the abilities from when I played in high school.
I got you. Now, I'm going to switch gears. I told you I want to talk about first. And we're taping this on Tuesday. People will see this on Wednesday, so it's entirely possible that there will have been a trade at some point. But what do you think about Pat Riley versus Jimmy Butler? I'll just start with the top line question and go from there.
I thought Pat interfered with the leader's comment, right? That's where it started, where Jimmy made the comment at the end of last season, like, if I was healthy, we would have took this series, right? It's a normal comment for a top player, right? You lost, but you still try to show your dominance over the other player. Like, y'all beat us, but because I wasn't there. And when he told him basically, shut up if you're not playing, that probably rubbed him the wrong way. And trying to get an extension. Pat's publicly making like, yeah, you're only playing 60-something games. I don't know. Like, that was, you can't undermine your star player in the media. That's, but, behind closed doors. It's like yelling at him in front of his teammates. Yeah. You can't whip your boy in front of his teammates unless you've already pre-programmed. Like, I'm gonna yell at you today to get everybody else in line. You got to do that to a star player. Like, I'm gonna yell at you, but don't take offense to it. Just take it so I can yell at the person I really want to yell at. That's what coaches and general managers do for your star players. So I thought publicly it was the wrong approach, and Jimmy being Jimmy fed right into it, right? It's like, well, if you're looking for your contract, then you need to come out here like Colbert, MJ in his prime, James Harden, right? You taking 30, 40 shots. Forget wins. You gotta, but he started off slow, like he didn't care, and it kind of just, all right, this is the game we're gonna play. And from there, just went down a rabbit hole.
Man, this is I think one interesting thing about this is Pat Riley has proven he'll let anybody go. The only guy he ever wanted to keep, by the way, is the dude who never planned to stay, right? Like, he really wanted LeBron to stay, and it hurt his feelings when LeBron left. And I think the story is he went out there to Vegas to do the meeting, and he realized there wasn't Mav and none of them other cats there for the meeting. It was just him and LeBron, and he was like, damn, I just came here for no reason. But everybody else has wanted to stay, and Pat, Alonzo Mourning, Dwayne Wade, you go up and down the line, and Pat has just ultimately been like, nah, it's cool. We'll deal with that later. They all come back later, right? Like, everybody comes back and becomes part of the team, which has a tiny bit of cult to it, just a faint whiff of culture's behavior. They do all of that, and they all come back. And I think Pat had gotten so used to that, and he thought that he could make this smooth and go through the year, where it's like, come on, man, you know who you were dealing with? That if you weren't going to give him an extension, and Jimmy clearly thought that they could get an extension there, right? Because once it became clear they couldn't get an extension, everything went off the rails, right? All beef at all times. And Pat had the nerve. Well, I guess Eric Spoelstra did it, but it's hard to separate he and Pat to have Haywood Highsmith in this latest thing starting over Jimmy. And that's just like, come on, man. You knew what time that was going to be.
Yeah. So I think Pat hasn't updated his software. I think he thinks this is still the 1980s and 1990s, where the money controls the players, right? When you're talking about 80s and you need this $1 million, you're going to do what I say. And same thing with those Knicks teams. Over the years, right, you lost more control. So Pat, once Jimmy signs that $90 million on his first rookie deal, then $230 million. There's no negotiation with money, right? Money is a non-factor at this point. It's the little things, right? Kawhi proved it, right? Where he was like, "Well, you don't want Derek. I mean, you don't want Paul George. Well, I'm out, right? Turns down 40 extra million. He already has a bag. He don't care anymore. So once a guy signs for that big max, negotiations after that, it's all on principle. And I don't think Pat really considered that the money wasn't going to control Jimmy, right? You know the mentality. You know he don't negotiate, right? We've seen this pattern. So once you got into the tic-tac of playing mind games, for the most part, Jimmy had all the leverage, right? Because he's verbally said, I don't want to be here. They can't do anything, which now all other teams, if they're smart, like you're going to take all these nice pieces off the table and say, well, he don't want to be there, so you're going to have to trade him. So I don't need to give you this. I can give you this C minus player. And just like an organization, they go after his habits, knowing what he normally does, and we're going to penalize him when he does it now, right? Usually Jimmy takes his own flight sometimes. Okay. When he does it, suspension, missed the flight, right? Oh, when he gets here, he likes to stay in his own hotel or Airbnb. And when he does that, team policy, strike his ass, right? So that's all they were going to do until they can suspend him, take back some of that money until they get indefinite, and that's exactly what they did. So I blame Jimmy at this point for not being smart enough to know what they're after.
Yeah, see, the thing I thought that was interesting, especially with the indefinite, when it was the 7-game, when it was like, okay, you let the list rack up, right? It's like those stores that if you work there and you boost and they catch you boosting that first time, they let you keep going. It's like, oh, okay, so you got out of here with just a couple things out the front. Okay, cool. Oh, did somebody take a CD player? All right, we got to look at that. Oh, you're feeling good now. You think you're going to get this laptop out of here. Now you're looking at a felony. And that's when they wait to go get you. When I was like, okay, so my man did all these things to get up to a 7-game suspension, but at no point was there a 1-game suspension before that. And the thing that set them off that I thought was interesting was that press conference where he sounded more like his feelings was hurt than anything else. And they were like, oh, you up there sounding kind of sad, buddy. How'd you like to sit down for 7 games?
No, and that's exactly how it, same thing with the Ben Simmons, right? It's, I don't want you to sit home, right, and get this money. I don't want you to play because you're not going to be playing to our standard. So the only thing I can do is suspend you and take your money. So once he got the 7 games, right, being late, which is only a $10,000 fine, right? That's the max that you can go. So basically the rule is you miss the flight or you're late, they'll take off, $10,000 fine, get your own flight there, right? That's the rule. There's no
You thoroughly researched this, I see.
I was part of it. Right? That's all it is because, by the time they get there at 3:00, you can get on a flight and then you're there. There's no suspension for missing a flight because you got time to make the game, right? The game ain't the flight, right? The game is the game. So, so that's like, first warning, probably a $5,000 fine, $10,000 fine, right? It's just knick-knack stuff, right? But here, They can suspend him. He'll probably get his money back. But they got 7 games out of him. And then the 2 games was, what was the 2 games for?
The 2 games was for missing the flight.
What was the 7 games for?
The 7 games was after he sat up there and said he couldn't find his joy. And then they hit him with the 7. And then they did 2 for missing the flight. And now this new one is the 5 or more because he walked out of the shoot around because they said the Haywood Highsmith would be starting over him. By the way, I didn't know we were still making Haywoods. I was totally unaware. That's like finding out, like you tell me Haywood drive a Ford Taurus. I'd be like, damn, we still making Ford Tauruses too, huh? I had no idea.
So the 2 game is for the flight, which shouldn't have been nothing. Detrimental to the team comments, that's not a real thing. And then detrimental here. So I have always said, even when the John Morant thing, detrimental to the team is the worst. That's like, for the Black community, that's like resisting arrest, right? Right? It's like, it's a real thing, but not how they use it. Like, resisting arrest means you are being arrested for a crime and then you're like running, right? Not like, I pulled him over for, a speeding ticket or seatbelt and then I shot him. Right. Yeah. He resisted. Like, no, you got to have a crime in front of resisting. Right. So it's like this little loophole. That's what this is. It's a loophole where detrimental. And what does that mean? Yeah, the team ain't functioning well with him. It's more mental. So we want to get rid of him until we evaluate the situation. That's all that is. Because if it's a punishment, that punishment has a required penalty to it. Like John Morant gun, right? That's 3 games, 7 at the max. Like, oh, that's not enough. So detrimental. He's mentally not capable of being around the team. And that's what they're going to do until they figure out how to trade him.
I'm imagining Jimmy acted up and Pat Riley just screaming out, "Stop resisting! Stop resisting!" I told him, like, what about resistance? Stop resist! Oh shit, he about to do it. No. The other thing, you had mentioned something interesting on your show, and I think this is, and I'm curious to talk to you a little bit more about this. So there are 2, I guess maybe 3 organizations that I really think of in terms of culture, right? Where we think about the team and the team has a culture. One of them that's kind of sort of is the Spurs, but they've been so sorry for so long that I don't even know, was it a culture or was it Tim Duncan? Like, I can't exactly tell. Another is Oklahoma City. And it makes perfect sense because what they do is they get young boys that don't know no better and don't mind living there. And they just hang out with each other and play video games. And it's like an extension of college. And then they get, like, my mother's from Oklahoma City. Like, there ain't no shade to the place. I like it. Come on, man. We know what time it is, right? Yeah. And they or you get like a Russell Westbrook, a dude who don't care, who's like, I do what I'm supposed to do all the time. And then we go. The other one is Miami, obviously, and after LeBron left, they branded it, right? It became Heat Lifers and Heat Culture and everything. But I've heard you talk about the fact that your selling point for this organization is South Beach, and now you do everything you can to make the team like as little like South Beach as possible. Like, one thing people don't know is that arena is right there on Biscayne Bay, and they have giant windows for the practice facility to overlook the bay. It's the kind of thing an architect does to sell you on the project, and they bought it. And Pat Riley covered them things up immediately because ain't nothing supposed to be fun about playing basketball there. So, like, when you see what is going on with Jimmy and how guys have left, and then juxtapose that against the fact that, look, the 2 most fun cities in the NBA for a lot of people are Miami and Atlanta, and don't nobody ever want to go play there.
Mm-hmm. And that's the weird part, right? It's you have this selling point. Like LA, their selling point is Hollywood, right? Whatever money you're going to lose, you can make it up in endorsements, right? That's the selling point of LA and the Clippers. You lose $20 million here. Well, we got movie, we got actors. You can make it back in endorsements, right? Miami Beach has the beach, the weather, the women, right? You can't sell that to 19 to 30-year-olds. Like, are you kidding me? Right? It's like you have all of this, and then it's like it feels like soon as you get off the plane, you're handcuffed. Like, you tricked me, right? You're doing the 5 to 10. You're doing it big here. Put your handcuffs on. Fuck the beach. Oh, I just fooled you. That, like, like Loki, like I created this vision, when I was talking to you on the phone. And then when you get there, this is prison. And like when we ask players about the city and about the team, they tell us, right? Your prisoners tell the story of Miami. Hence why you can't get anyone there. You're telling me you can't beat out, right? Milwaukee, Minnesota, Memphis, Utah, Chicago's cold.
Yeah, Sacramento.
Right? Sacramento.
Just places like Sacramento.
You're telling me DeMar wouldn't want to come near here, rather live in Sacramento? Like you think Clay would rather go? Clay loves his boat. You're telling me you couldn't get Clay Thompson from Dallas to there? No, because no one wants to do that prison stuff. Like it's easy to draft that player and get him there because that's all they know, right? Like from college to Miami, that's all you know. Once you started tasting other organizations and then you hear about what Miami does, like, nah, I'm good. Nah, like I've tasted filet mignon over here and this is how I get it. You're telling me hamburger helper and what I got to do to get that? Yeah, I'm good.
Now, the wildest thing about the NBA is you got teams in DC, Atlanta, and Miami, and a league full of Afro-Americans. And for my whole life, ain't nobody really wanted to go. Now, Miami's had its times where people did want to go there. But like DC and Atlanta, I mean, I see the look on your face. You had a ball. You had a ball. No, but I mean, but I'm 44 years old and they ain't won 50 games in my life.
You know what it is? The way the contracts are designed, it is designed for you to stay, right? It's really like you're going to have like someone saying, we don't want you anymore and you got to go find a place to play. Or you got to be LeBron and say, I'm going to team up and this is where I'm going. Or turn down some money, right? Or Kawhi, I'm just turning it down. Usually that doesn't happen, right? The way is, you're talking about 250 here, 175 here. It's a big gap to the point where you can't leave or you don't want to leave. So if your organization is not smart enough to make great trades, no one is really leaving. So the advantage is always going to be like the New Yorks, the LAs, kind of San Francisco now. That's going to be up and coming.
Yeah.
Boston maybe, right? But for the most part, them young boys just want to stay home or get to one of those big cities. But Miami is a big city, and I'm gonna just be honest. If I'm Pat Riley, I'm selling whatever South Beach got to offer.
Yeah. Like, it's funny. I made that face about Boston, but it feels like more cats have been inclined to go to Boston with free agent money than they had been to Miami. Like, New York is a place I feel like you got to have a certain sophistication for you to understand why this is a place that you want to be, right? Like, if you're from the wrong place and you're too young and they tell you it's cold and you just see all these buildings, you got to be here. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be here and be like, oh, okay, no, this is anything I want in the world is here. There's women from countries I didn't even know existed, and they here, right? Then you get a place like Houston that everybody can understand. Yeah. Houston is the one where every athlete of every stripe and every race is like, nah, I think I want to go get some of that.
Right? No, that's facts. And I just don't think that every organization is not smart businessmen, right? And that's kind of funny just hearing it, right? Because this is a big business. But all of them are not very smart businessmen when it comes to just selling the product and selling the American dream, right? Pat Riley, you are the godfather of Miami, and you're not using Miami for your team, right? I'm going to be doing deals with Prime 112, right? Where every player on this team, free build, they don't pay for nothing, right? You don't pay for nothing at Prime 112. All these hotels, this hotel right here for family and friends, free, right? All players here is free. I don't care if it's $1,000 a night. They don't want to pay it. You tell them these are the amenities that you get. Just come into this organization. Strip club open 24/7 for you, sir. All the women, discount for you, 50% off. Like, I'm gonna sell you. You're 21 years old. Oh, I'm gonna sell you like you're a 21-year-old. I'm gonna have some of the finest girls walking up. Oh my God, aren't you? You're the guy from TV, right? Oh, I'm such a big fan. What are you doing tonight? I'm pulling out all the college stops. I'm sorry. This is big business here. Right? I'm praying on the young minds and how they think, and I'm using all of this to my advantage. I'm not losing no free agent. I seen how Golden State was recruiting me. Right? This is 03. When I pulled up there it was my last visit. I got a private jet from LA to there. Terrell Owens was in there. Like, oh shit, that's the dude, right? So that's where I met Terrell. That's where we became friends. You know, he's talking about the city with me. When I got there, there was a Ferrari, Lamborghini, Viper out front, just nice. Like, oh man, there's some rich people here, right? And then we go and talk, and they say, hey, just to let you know, those 4 cars down there, those are yours. I didn't hear nothing else they said. All I'm thinking is I got an Escalade. That's my Monday car. That's a Tuesday car. Oh my God, I'm about to fall out. The girls, and that's all for the next 2 hours. I'm only thinking about the car. I didn't hear shit they had going on, right? I had to wait till they left, and it's like, what do you think about the deal? What deal? And it was like, I told you, he was thinking about them cars. So basically it was like, come back for $4.9 million. And then we have a 7-year, $79 million deal waiting for you.
That's right, because they could only offer you the mid-level exception. Yeah. They had to change the rule after that one.
So that was like that right there. And it was like, yo, wait, hold on. Just focus on this numbers. And then they gave me the numbers there. And then they gave me the numbers what Washington offered. It was smarter for the Washington deal. Because by the time the money added up, I would have been out of my Washington deal, signing a new deal. And then the next time recruited me was that when I was a free agent, Baron Davis left, signed the Clippers. So I got wind. They hit me and said, hey, listen, we have maxes for you as 5-year 101. And I said, oh man, I just bought a house. Oh no, we got a $5.5 million house already paid for, ready for you. And it comes with a helicopter, and you got a helicopter. Right? Like, what, are y'all not getting these? Like, Pat Ryder, you're not doing this for these guys? Listen, if you don't know how to sell Miami, hit me up. Sign me. All you need to do is be the mouthpiece for you and just give me free range to sell whatever Miami has to offer, and you will have any player you want.
And you earlier hit them with the magic words that when you get older, no normally means some bullshit, but it rang out when you're young. But for you, But for you, my friend, everything is different.
I mean, you let Jimmy Butler do what he wants to do, like take your own flight, be in the Airbnb. So you give rope, right? But your job is to get him there first. Get him there. You don't even trick nobody to get him there. And that's the problem, right? I think sometimes teams, when they don't have use for you anymore, they devalue you, right? They tell all your bad secrets, which the rest of the players is looking at it. Like, think about it, this is what you're doing to D-Wade? Oh, no, we're good. Nah, right? That's actually how the players look at organizations. How do you treat your superstars? So if that's how you're going to treat Dwayne Wade or LeBron, shit, I'm nobody to you then. You didn't draft me. I haven't won nothing for you. So I know you're not going to treat me better than him. And if that's how you're talking about him, I'm good.
Well, look, let's put a pin in that. We're going to wrap right quick and come back because that was a point I wanted to get to that I think something that kind of gets lost in the Jimmy story as it relates to the Heat. We'll come back in just a second with Gilbert Arenas. The NBA is in full swing and the big game is right around the corner, which means you could turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite teams only on Prize Picks. You can make a Prize Picks lineup between the NFL and the NBA in as little as 60 seconds. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. But rather than hearing it from me, let's hear from our expert picker. Hey, Sean, how the picks been going for you?
You know, Bo, I'm getting a little backlash from the audience who haven't been making as much on Prize Picks from my picks. But look, I'm gonna be back in this month of February because not only with the NBA and NFL, I can make picks between both leagues. With the flex play, I can still cash out if my lineup isn't perfect. And as always, make sure you stick around for the end of each show to hear my upcoming picks. And if you know me, I'm always picking more. And if you were smart, maybe you'd fade them and take less sometimes.
That's right. They got choices. So make sure you go to prizepicks.com/Bomani and use code Bomani for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/Bomani. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. All right, we are back with Gilbert Arenas. And Gilbert, the last time I did your show, I made a point where you were like, I hadn't really thought about this. And it was, why did Kawhi Leonard go play in the Olympics? And I was like, oh, it's simple. Because if you ask Kawhi Leonard, why is Kevin Durant better than him? How do you explain that? Like, he views himself as, and he's got the resume, 2 finals MVPs, 2 defensive players of the years, all of these things. He's got those, but we don't think about him that way, right? We don't, in our minds, we don't put him there, but I see why he would see himself that way. I feel like with Jimmy, there's something similar in the sense where, number one, I got a buddy named Joel who comes on my show, and he just hates Jimmy Butler like nobody's business. And I'm like, dude, Jimmy's a Hall of Famer. And he's like, he's a borderline Hall of Famer. I'm like, no, the best player on every player who's been the best player on a team that went to the NBA Finals is in the Hall of Fame. He took the Heat to the finals 2 times and was 1 missed 3-pointer away from doing it a 3rd time, which is to say, he's the 3rd best player in the history of that franchise. It's Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, and then Jimmy Butler. Like, the other guys you're talking about are like Zoe, Tim Hardaway, but they don't have the receipts of going 2 times. They don't have. Jimmy has that. I look at that with the Heat in line with what you were just saying about how you treat your superstars. Like, hey, the definition of superstar in this league is a little bit different than it used to because you've got all these super high tier guys who often feel like they're the same. But Jimmy's done all the superstar stuff. Even if you don't think he's a superstar for the league, he is a superstar for that team. That's a guy whose jersey you retire. We don't think about it that way, but he's been there 6 years. Like, he's that dude. And Pat is like, yep, we could do without you like we do without everybody else. And you do have to wonder how long that continues to play.
Yeah, man, this was just a bad chess move by Miami, because these are the 3 best players in history, right? You said Dwayne Wade, LeBron, right? They played together, right?
Right.
So they helped each other, right? Dwayne had Shaq to get his first one. Jimmy didn't even have 20% of the talent Dwayne had or Dwayne and LeBron had. And he did go to the finals 2 times. Like, when you're talking about the person who cooked the best meal with the least amount of ingredients, it is Jimmy Butler, right? Hands down. Like, that AAU team, YMCA team he took there, like, all the players left and none of them are good, right? Like, around the league, they all went somewhere. None are actually productive right now, right? You haven't heard nothing about none of them. And that's what he took to the finals 2 times. I think you didn't value him. And I think that's where this real fight is. He knows what is around him. He knows if he had a Shaq, he won championship. If he had a LeBron, of course he'll win a championship. But he almost won with nothing, really. Bam is cool. Hero's a decent player, but they know Shaquille O'Neal. They know Lonzo Mourning. They know Bosh. No LeBron. If he had any of that, he probably could have pulled it out. So he has been one of those guys that's done a lot for the organization, and I don't think they valued it because they was thinking about the rings they got.
Yeah.
They all Pat Riley rings. But it's not a culture. It's not, right? What is the culture, right? We only win championships when we have the unicorn players, right? You had Magic and Kareem, you won, right? You got inherited that. You didn't win with Patrick Ewing and them. right? The offense you had in LA wasn't what you was playing in New York. New York looks more like Miami, right? But then you get Shaquille O'Neal. Whatever he culture was, that didn't apply to Shaq, right? If you heard anything about them Shaq stories, with it was Shaquille O'Neal, Posey, Antoine Walker, Gary Payton, you know that was no Heat culture there. That
Jason Williams.
Jason Williams, that was their culture. Whatever they said went, because there was too many of them, right? You're talking about the strip club crew, right? They built barbershops in the strip club because they was in there so goddamn long, right? So you won a championship with that crew. That's not your culture. When they got hurt, that shit before LeBron got there, that's Heat culture, right? You use your championships to whip these players. Oh, this is what you got to do. This is what the champions did. When LeBron got there, it was LeBron's culture, right? You win 2 championships, you and LeBron buck over whose culture this is. When he leaves, that's Heat culture. Yeah, we got 2 championships over here, boys. Do this, do that, do this. That's Heat culture, right? Your championships is coming from unicorn players, not from Heat culture itself. You're using Heat culture as if it's actually done something. If Jimmy Butler would have won those 2 championships, that's Heat culture. Bunch of mediocre players, and boom, hard work pays off. But you bring in top 5 players in history, you're winning with top 5 players in history. Magic, Kareem, LeBron, Shaquille O'Neal. Like, look at the players that you have. Right? You're gonna need a Giannis. You're gonna need a Giannis, a Wemby, a Jokic, right? You're gonna need one of them to win your next one, right?
Well,
if history says it for you.
Well, I thought as I think about this now, as you talk about it, it's interesting to look back on that series against the Nuggets, because the most amazing factoid in the NBA remains that Nikola Jokic has never played with an all-star. And so that team has, like, Michael Porter is really talented. He has a terrible back, right? Jamal Murray, really talented. Physically, we've seen what's happened with him. But that roster is built along the cultural ideals similar to the Heat, except the Heat had 2, Jimmy Butler's, and he's not was not on an Olympic team, but he's an Olympic team caliber player. Bam Adebayo is an Olympic team player, obviously. And the Nuggets walk them. Like, that was not even close because they got that dude.
Yeah. Jokic was the X factor. As much as Jimmy was doing in the playoffs, he couldn't equal out. He couldn't equal out Jokic, right? It was just, Jokic his totals was sitting at 48 to 55. Jimmy, you're 22, 5 and 5. That ain't gonna cut it. He's alone taking you and Bam. It reminded me of what LeBron James is doing, where he's taking out 2 stars. So when they got Kevin Durant, it's like, yeah, you're not gonna be able to do that anymore. You and Kevin Durant is gonna cancel each other out, and Steph and Clay, they're gonna win their matchups. And so when these 2 matched up, it was like,
right. Now, let me ask this, because Jimmy Butler's future is probably in Phoenix. One thing I find interesting about it in Phoenix is they needed to make it so that Brad Beal wanted to waive his no-trade clause and leave. And so they started a Haywood Highsmith over him sort of situation in Phoenix, except the difference, of course, is that Beal wasn't working out very well for them while he was actually playing. But Jimmy's an interesting juxtaposition, because when you don't have a situation like Beal has, you got to act up to make a team want to trade you, except if you are like Beal and have a no-trade clause, they going to make you want to leave.
Yeah, no, facts. Right. They're in both. They're in 2 different situations, but listen, there still becomes being a professional, right? Your legacy is going to be talked about, not Miami Heat. Like, nobody's going to give 2 shits. The organization moves on through history, right? We can't remember any player that ever done this, within the last 10, 15 years, because time moves on, right? It's hurting you, Jimmy, right? Right. If you want to go get traded, you just play. It doesn't matter, right? You being disgruntled or you're averaging 30. If you don't want to be there, you don't want to be there. Like, yo, I don't want to be here, but I'm going to go out here and just average 30 a way, hit my game winners. It don't matter, right? Because this is more about my brand. Me winning games for you is irrelevant. Me going out there playing hard every night while I'm unhappy, that stamps me. So me doing all of this, other franchises also is like, I mean, this is the third time he's undid this. I don't really know, right? I mean, what happens when we do the same thing?
Yeah, or if you're going to do it, you got to be like James Harden. You got to go all the way. He don't waste no time. When James decide he done, this is not going to be a developing bad situation. He's like, nah, this shit is bad right now.
Well, and with James is, that's really the first time he ever spoke up and ain't done it since, right?
Yeah.
Right, so it's like one of those one-offs. Well, with Jimmy,
I don't know. He made Oklahoma City trade him, right? Like he did enough when nobody was looking there to hurry up and get them out of there to get to Houston, and he acted bad in Houston. He had them dudes ready to snuff him on sight, and then they had to get him out of there, and then he had to get himself out of Brooklyn. When James decides this, he got himself out of Brooklyn, though I understood that situation. He felt like he was in crazy town, and he was the only person that was going to call it what it was when he was in Brooklyn. It's like, what are you talking about? This is nuts. And then when he went to China, it was like, watch this.
But just like that, you see how I forgot it? I forgot about all of that.
You did.
Yeah, he's pulled it too, right? But I've been on there. I've been when I've been disgruntled, and the first thought that comes to mind is, man, I'm not going to win for them no more, and that's the bad thought.
Right.
Because it's your legacy, it's your money, right? Everything you do that goes against this organization, the other organization is doing the same thing. Like, think about when we're talking to a girl and she says, when we're like, why you single? Well, my last man cheated on me. He didn't give me the time. And you sitting there like, shit, I do the same thing. Right? And it's like, well, if I date you, are you going to be doing the same thing, what you're doing to him, to me? And that's always why when you date someone who's cheating on their man, you never take them, because I know what you're capable of when you're not happy. And at some point, my behavior is going to make you unhappy, and I don't want you to do that to me.
Now, let me ask you this. What do you think about Jimmy in Phoenix? Because that don't seem like the happiest place on earth either right now. And they have an owner that, he's Mr. Quick Fix, right? If there's any quick fix that you could come out there, the quick fix was Kevin Durant. They done that. They get Jimmy. I'm assuming they have to get Nurkic out of there after he basically said, I don't even know who the coach is no more. But I'm not sure, as much as we've talked about the Clippers as being like underachievers over the years, and I'm not sure how fair that is. With the Suns, you got Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and you get Jimmy Butler. You should be a championship contender if you do that, but they're not going to be.
I don't know.
Really?
Because just like when Jimmy was with Minnesota, when Jimmy went to Philadelphia, and when he went to Miami, he is the Scottie Pippen type, right? He does all the tangible things to get the win, right? He understands every quarter is this different quarter. And when you have two guys that can just focus on being great, I can do everything else, right? But if I have to be great and do my job, it's a lot more wear and tear on me. But you two score and whatever, I'll make sure everything else is lining up. And I really believe if he gets to Phoenix, himself and how he controls situation, let Kevin do what Kevin do, let Booker do it, and he's sitting there just moving pieces around, moving the court around, dictating the game, I think they're going to be dangerous. It's a different, like, Beal is no different than Kevin Durant. He's very quiet, right? He just goes, does the job. They need the Jimmy. Just like Kevin need the Draymond Green, he needs the Jimmy to keep everything lined up.
They need to be good enough to overcome being outcoached in the playoffs, because championship notwithstanding, we have seen Budenholzer's movies before.
Mm-hmm.
and he gets cooked because he does not change. He's on the we did this always works, so we just gonna keep on doing it.
And the funny part is, it's coaches really got two motherfucking jobs. Great practice, right? That's your coaching. Practice, right? You want to seem smart? Practice. How does I judge I judge you as a coach on the practice layout? Does it have a flow to it, right? Or is it one of these we start off shooting, then we go to 5-on-0, then we go to 5-on-5, then we go back to 5-on-0. Like, you start doing that, I know you can't coach. If it starts off as 5-0, do the shell drill, boom, and then ramps up to full plan, but this stop and go method, I can tell you're erratic type of coach, and you're not going to be very great in the game. And then you have the practice part of it, and then in the game, your job is to manage your subs, your timeouts, your out of bounds, your after free throws, play calling. That's your job. Knowing the sub, not this right here, not this thing where you're sitting there, got the blue piece of paper in your hand, and you're sitting there and looking, sub, and then you subbing the guy out. He's sitting there like, what the? Like, that means he just hit 8 in a row, and you ain't paying attention. You ain't paying attention to the flow of the game, knowing when to sub somebody out, when to put them in, right? And that's the part of coaching, right? That play where you remember Charlotte, LaMelo Ball, the coach didn't put him back at the end of the game. Bad coaching. No matter what he was doing in the fourth, everything erases for a superstar in the last 2 minutes. It's like the game just started again. You don't miss that. Don't miss that. The rest of the game is irrelevant. Even if somebody's hot, right? You still got to put your star player in just to, do what star players do. So the coach is bad, but he don't have to be great. He just got to understand when to sub and when to call a great play. Other than that, you let your stars do all the dictating on the court. A coach that's calling a play every time down, he's a control freak.
Yeah, Rick Carlisle.
Yeah,
that's the grand example of that. Yeah,
yeah, I was there.
No, I was like, Stan was coaching you and Dwight at the same time. Stan
I was on parole in a sense.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah, so I'm just sitting there. I ain't got shit to say.
I look back on you in Orlando time, and I remember watching it. You was chilling. Right? You were definitely moving with self-awareness.
I had 2 years of probation. Yeah, I'm not messing this up for nobody. I'm not yelling at a coach. I'm not getting no argument on the court. I don't know how you messed this up. I don't know what all and goes into messing up your probation, but I don't want none of it. I'm not going to drink my water too fast. None of this.
I love Stan as a person. Like, I really do. He's a great guy that seems like no fun to play for.
No. If the game, he is, I consider like a bipolar type of mentality where if it's not practice or a game day, fun. And funny, right? Like, he's one of those, you have like 99 on the clock, right? So practice 99 on the clock before practice starts. You can talk to Stan, laughing, joking. When that horn hit, burn, oh my Lord. Like, you're in the middle of a conversation and it goes burnt, that conversation ended. What the fuck are you doing standing in front of me still? Like, what happened? And then from there, oh my God, he's a whole different person. Like during practice and during games, I don't even want to be around that dude. When it's over, funniest dude in the world.
Yeah. Now, last thing I want to ask you, it's in part for me. I watched this end of this Boston-Houston game on Monday night, and on one level, what's going on with Boston is interesting because it's the year after you win a championship. They're still really good, but they're also like 6 games out of the top of the East. Like, this happens where you just wonder if they've just like, hey, we ain't got to push it like this right now. On the other side, though, the Rockets are coming, And Sean, I am from Houston, but he's the big Rockets fan, and he just wants to hear you talk about Ahmed Thompson.
I was watching the game last night on playback. He's a superstar. He reminds me of Jimmy Butler's a style, right? Where you don't know what type of player he is gonna be, but you know he's gonna be it, right? If you're telling him we need you to average 20, he's gonna do that. I need you to play the 5 and duck in and do that. He's gonna do that. If I need you to play some defense, once he gets a jump shot, it's gonna be very scary, right? When I first made the comment about him and his brother age kind of being a little older, and you have to be good now, you don't have room for development. Right. When you're coming in at 21, turning 20, you don't have room for development because your age has already done made the All-Star and the All-NBA. So you're behind the 8 ball on that. I think he's right on pace to where he is, right? Jalen Green is the same age. Paolo Banchero's the same age. Ant-Man is 1 year older. Sangoon is the same age. And I think he's just impactful with that age group. So he's above his age group. The other one, he's still trying to find his way.
No, I did not realize that those boys were that old. That is interesting. What I also find interesting about them is I was highly critical of the idea that the best way to develop yourself to go to the NBA is to go play at a literal highlight factory, which is what he and his brother did when they went to play at Overtime Elite. And I don't know what exactly went on there, but they look that worked out better than I would have thought that it would have worked out.
I think it hurt them.
Really?
Yeah. Here, if you look at their demeanor, right? Those two kids are like that Kobe Westbrook mentality, right? That I'm dialed in. This is about basketball. We have a goal. Our goal is to make it to the NBA. We're going to train 365 days a year, 2 times a day. That's what those two kids was on. Well, unfortunately, the situations they were in, those kids are not on that. Those kids is about having fun, money time. So you got 2 professionals spending a year around high school mentalities, guys who just want to hang around. So they're not being pushed in a way that they needed to be. So I think that year kind of set them back, right? Yeah, they're going to go drag. Like if they would have went overseas and got to going, I think they both would have been at a very different place. But they're playing against high school kids, playing with high school kids. You can see that it was 2 different levels of play style. And it's like, these kids are just, for the most part, I'm pretty sure they're looking at why are we here type of deal. So, but one is fast tracking, the other one is still, trying to find his way. But, I think about age, like you're a rookie and then that next year, where are you compared to everybody in your class? Not your rookie class, because I can't compare 23 with 20. Right. 2 different ages.
Well, that's the thing. And for people who don't know, because I did not 2 things I did not realize about these boys until now. One, I was talking about their age. January 30th, they turned 22.
Yeah.
Which is to say, in a couple of days, they turned 22, 23. Which I did not realize. The other thing I did not realize.
But they turned 22 or 23?
22. I got them as January 30th, 2003. But I also did not realize that these boys' middle name, both of them, their middle name is Excellence, spelled, I bullshit you not, XLNC. That's their middle name. They apps, dog. They got that is the name of an app. XLNC. Excellence. I thought it would be Excellency, but nope. Yeah. Just Excellence. Didn't know that, did you?
Nah. Yeah.
We're all learning so much. On another day, we could talk about my thing with Overtime Elite was like, if I'm going to be in school, I'm going to be in a school with some girls, or at the very least some accent. If I'm going to be the best basketball player anybody has seen around these parts, I'm going to need some girls to tell me how dope I am. I just ain't trying to be around all these dudes making highlights.
Yeah, what's so funny is my son went there. And, my son wants to practice and train. So my son was there he was on a visit, just trying to see what it was. And he was there about 1:00 in the morning. Those two are there. And they said to him, don't come here.
Oh,
You're not gonna be challenged with the rest of the guys, right? Just stay in high school. And when he came back, I'm like, how was it? He said, I met the twins. I was like, oh, what did they say? And he was like, they told me don't go here. I was like, why? And then he broke it down, and I was like, oh, that makes sense.
No. When the locals tell you, no matter where you are, no matter what it is, if the locals tell you, just listen.
I mean, I understood where they're coming from. There's babies. These kids are trying to have fun. They came here for money. They didn't come here to be great. Right. And that was the problem. These who are trying to be great, these kids, the parents sent them to get checks. Two different minds.
Right. Game Theory with Bomani Jones at HBO. We talked about that. Go check the archives. That is Gilbert Arenas. Check him out on Gil's Arena. Check out the podcast. Check him out on YouTube. My brother, you're doing an excellent job, man. I appreciate you joining us.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, then, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. We do this 3 times a week. That's Sean, you handling everything behind the scenes. Thank you, sir. Remember, follow The Right Time. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater, and we'll talk to you guys in a couple of days. Take it easy.